Please now let us welcome Seena Saiedian, a second-year law student at the University of Virginia and a passionate advocate for freedom, democracy, and human rights in Iran.
Good afternoon, friends. I am delighted to join you all today as we recognize 60 years of the MEK struggle for freedom and democracy in Iran. For me and for my generation, this anniversary is not just about honoring the past, but it's about carrying its spirit forward and keeping the flame of justice alive for the future. I was born and raised here in the United States, and I've never had the opportunity to visit Iran, but I've had the privilege to get to know the young leaders of the Iranian opposition, and I have a deep admiration for their commitment to building a free and prosperous Iran. As a student of the American legal tradition, I have a special admiration for the intellectual roots of the MEK, which was born out of the student movements against the Shah in the 1960s, and which has an enlightened political platform containing many of the values that inspired America's founding generation. Things like the separation of church and state, republican governance, and equality under the laws. The young men and women that were marching in the streets today are the heirs of an intellectual history and a legacy fighting with the same resolve, the same hope, and the same unshakable belief in a free future. What sustains their hope is the knowledge that an alternative exists, not just a vague dream, but a structured and capable organization that has a clear vision for the future. Crucially for me, the MEK's advocacy is not tied to any particular religion, any ethnicity, or even a political party. Instead, the MEK's widespread support is based on universal values that bind Iranians together across generations and across different social backgrounds towards a common vision of a cohesive government that protects everyone's freedoms. Also importantly, this vision is not just a slogan. The MEK has a brave army of freedom fighters inside the country who are willing to risk their lives to put this plan into action and make their vision a reality. Two of these young activists are Ali Younesi and Mir Hossein Moradi. They are elite university students who have been in prison in the notorious Evin prison since 2020 for supporting the MEK. As a student in America, I am both inspired by their bravery and heartbroken at the persecution that they and countless other Iranians face for exercising basic freedom of conscience, a right that we often take for granted here in the United States. For me, one of the defining features of the MEK's success is its consistency and its commitment to its values. These days, talk of regime change is increasingly ubiquitous in policy commentary about Iran. But we know that was not always the case. There was a time when the talk of the town was appeasement and the delusion of reforming the mullahs. But for me, when I look out in the crowd, the MEK was the only group that recognized from day one that the only long-term solution to this regime is regime change and the establishment of a secular, democratic republic. And indeed, these days, we look out on social media and see many of these fake opposition figures that the regime tries to prop up. For example, folks like the son of the deposed Shah. Many of these figures are the same people who were promoting the so-called reformist movement inside the regime just a few years ago. But the people of Iran are not fooled by these games. We recognize that the MEK is the only organization that has the time-tested platform and on-the-ground support to create lasting change. However, this consistency and this independence does not come easily. The MEK has faced brutal repression for its advocacy, and tens of thousands of its supporters have lost their lives at the hands of both the Shah and now the mullahs. But the spirit of freedom has endured, because generations remain inspired to pick up the flag and continue the fight, and I am proud to stand here with them. The movement inside of Iran has survived decades of oppression and terror because at the end of the day, it is based on universally appealing values, impressive organizational capabilities, and widespread support. And importantly, I think for policymakers, the MEK's consistency and independence should be a source of optimism. I feel comfortable and proud knowing that the future of Iran will be paved by a highly organized, capable, and popularly supported organization that is committed to building a democratic government that is also at peace with its neighbors and with the international community. Now, ultimately, the future of Iran will be determined by the people of Iran, but we must not forget the crucial role that the MEK has played in laying an intellectual foundation for freedom and democracy that is being continued today by new generations of activists. That is ultimately why I support the MEK. Not just because it stands against tyranny, but because it stands for something greater. A future where Iran belongs to its people, where its youth can dream freely, and where the government exists to secure the people's prosperity. This vision was started 60 years ago by 3 enlightened visionaries that we see here, who started a movement based on a dream of a secular and pluralistic Iran. Their movement has continued to thrive despite decades of persecution, and it continues to inspire new generations of activists, even folks like myself who have never even stepped foot in Iran. Soon, their dream will be a reality, not because of outside influences, but because the freedom-loving people of Iran will refuse to surrender. I think that day is near, and I am proud to play the small role that I can to continue amplifying their voices and shedding light on the truth of the MEK and the platform that they stand for.